Hello dear viewers, and welcome back once again to the ancient dwarven hold of our ancestors. Today I'll be talking about the game The Last Spell. The Last Spell is a two-dimensional tactical defense RPG developed by Ishtar Games and published by the Arcade Crew. It was released in March of 2023. The weather this time of year is still a bit chilly outside the ancient hold, but down here we have warm fires to stoke, beards to stroke, some good tea and coffee making facilities, along with some stout dwarven hearts. What struck me immediately about The Last Spell was the wonderful box art with the striking colours and desperate times. It is quite enchanting. It is enough to encourage you to take a closer look, so I went to the store page and took a look. I did indeed. It seemed most interesting and enticed me to check it out. The Last Spell, at its core, is a holdout defense game. It brings with it tactical decision making, character progression and base building with fun roguelike elements of gameplay. The world has been wrought down and brought to ruin by the reckless use of magic by mages and wizards all over the land. Towns are destroyed and strange evil beasts roam the place looking to destroy what's left of civilization. In their desperation, those mages left have devised a plan to cast a spell, the last spell, that once cast will pull all magic out of the world. Can a ragtag bunch of heroes keep the heaving malignant masses at bay long enough for the mages to complete their ritual and remove all sorcery from the land? In The Last Spell, you build barricades, walls and defences, along with supporting buildings, which you must defend against the oncoming hordes. You will have a number of heroes that can move around, using their skills to destroy the evil things drawn to the ritual at the heart of your base. You must defend it to the last, lest all is lost. Graphically, The Last Spell uses a two-dimensional pixel art style. The different levels, the sprites, the buildings, the baddies and all sorts look spiffing in this way designed. Each town map has the base you're defending set against a backdrop of ruins, forests, swamps and more. Each level looks decidedly grim and thematic to what the developers were going for here, with a desperate race against inevitable destructions at the hands of the terrible hordes. The sprites of the heroes you'll be controlling on the screen look nicely drawn, and each has their own unique look to them as well, adding character, literally. What is nice about it too is that it will physically show the items that you have equipped about their person. For example, if you give them a mighty two-handed hammer or a steel helmet, that would be visually shown on the character. The sprites for the heaving, hideous hordes are also nicely constructed, each being all nasty and dangerous looking. There is of course a little repetition, with many of the same sprites reused for different mobs, but that is to be expected. With the dozens of them all over the place, it would be quite a feat to have each uniquely drawn. The infrequent monsters look most intimidating, instilling no small amount of worry as you see them arrive through the mist. The bosses are mean looking too, and die quite dramatically as well. The effects and abilities used by your heroes as they defend the base look cool and rather flashy, which is nice to see. It is quite satisfying visually to see a blast from a pistol take out a swathe of enemies, or an axe boomerang flying through the air destroying a grasp of baddies. Overall, the art style, the use of pixel art and such is really well done, which helps the game to stick out from others in the field. Now, draw closer dear viewer, for we must make a most mighty conversation about the sound design in The Last Spell. All the different effects and such are all good and well done, with decent audio feedback from a swipe of the sword or the call of fire upon thy enemies from above. Everything is how it should be, and that is grand. What sticks out here though is the soundtrack. Yes indeed, the background musical accompaniment is exceedingly good. It is thumping metal that blasts into the room as soon as you fire up the game, providing a powerful backdrop to all the happenings going on. It thrashes upon your eardrums, leaving no doubt about its intention. It is very good stuff that adds a lot to the atmosphere of the game. And it isn't all thumping brutality either, with some quite melancholic stuff going on as well. When you start the game, and once you've seen the intro, you will play through the tutorial town to help you to get to grips with the gameplay. When you start a town, it will be presented to you as a ramshackle grouping of buildings and crumbling defences in the middle of the screen, with ruins and whatnot surrounding the place at all sides. You will also be provided with a group of heroes that you'll make use of to defend the town. The game is split into two different phases, the production phase and that of the battle with evilry, in that order. Before you do battle with the enemy, you'll be given materials and gold to improve both your warriors and the town itself. You can buy new buildings, gear and unlock facilities with the use of gold. With materials, you're able to build the town's defences. In the very first production phase, you'll have minimal resources to deal with, but every subsequent production phase, you'll have a list of things to do before the next night of battle can commence. Firstly, through combat and a few other means, you'll gain essence, which is a kind of raw form of magic and the souls of the damned. These can be traded with a strange purple entity that will unlock new buildings and weapon types for you to choose from during your production phase. Besides this entity is another being of light that will award you bonuses according to certain feats that you obtain. For example, recruiting X number of heroes across several runs, or using a certain attack to kill X number of baddies in one go. Once you have spoken to these esoteric beings, you'll want to level up any heroes that gained a level during the preceding battle with the evil hordes. Your heroes are initially defined by their starting weapon, which you'll either get randomly at the start of each run or when recruiting them from a selection at the inn. The skills and spells that a hero has depends on their weapon equipped. For example, if you equip a hero with a two-handed hammer, then their attacks will be all melee focused, slamming down upon their foe with impunity. Likewise, if your hero is equipped with a spellbook, they are able to call down the power of raw magic itself and cast great destructive fireballs and such at any foolish enough to get in range. Heroes tend to level up each new production phase, but not always. With each hero that is leveled up, you are able to select 2 attribute increases as well as selecting a new perk. The attribute increases come in all shapes and sizes, like increased damage, extra movement points, more mana regen, more health and many more. Each will have a different colour rarity from plain to green to blue. The rarity of each increase will dictate how much of that stat will go up by. Naturally, you want to go for higher rarity increases, but they will not always be useful to that specific character. For example, selecting range damage bonus on a melee fighting warrior would be a waste. The perk system is a range of different perks that you can select from each level up. They cover different forms of fighting as well as some generic perks that could be useful to all characters. With each new point, you can select from any perk currently unlocked and not simply through linear progression down the tree. This allows for a lot more flexibility rather than locking you into a specific type or perk type for each character. The fact that skills are tied to weapons rather than the heroes themselves, I think allows for a flexibility in arming your men and women, but only within certain constraints when it becomes more difficult as you progress through the run. If you've selected a lot of melee damage bonuses during leveling, it wouldn't make a lot of sense to change their weapon to a spell or a bow. After leveling up, you'll check out any new items you might have acquired through production buildings like a blacksmith or trinket maker, along with performing well enough during the battle itself. These are all equipment that can be given to your heroes, and like the attributes, have a rarity from normal all the way up to epic. You will distribute these as you will, but be careful to note some items also have negative effects as well as positives, like -1 to movement speed. I think the game allows for some quite deep hero customization, allowing you to create the sort of heroes you want, but at the same time there is a limiting factor in what items you'll start with. These could really hobble your run if you don't like the specific weapon or loadout. I do wonder perhaps if it might have been fun to simply allow the weapons you wanted your heroes to have at the start. It might cause less frustration or abandoning the run early because you were given bad heroes. With the gold you have accumulated, you're able to build new buildings in your town. There is a variety to choose from and more to unlock as you play. What buildings you create will have a distinct impact on how you wish to play the game. You could build lots of homes and salvage yards which could be used to create more defences, or you could go after powerful weapon crafting buildings instead. Again, it is all up to you. Besides gold and material resources, you will have workers. This is the amount of people that are available to work buildings, salvage ruins and remains, and all sorts. What you decide to do with each of them is up to you. You could use them to produce extra equipment, or you could get them to salvage ruins in the town for more materials and gold. It's very open on how you wish to make use of them. You can even salvage the remains of dead enemies, with certain bodies giving large bonuses and even items, so keep an eye out for those. I think the implementation of workers helps you to further design and customise your defence, adding another layer of complexity, yet still not being too complicated in the doing so. Once you've outfitted and leveled up your heroes, built whatever buildings and assigned workers, you can at last use your available materials to build the town's defences. These are vital to surviving each night against the heaving hordes. There is a choice here too. You could go for just building sturdy walls relying on their strength and the powers of your heroes to destroy all the enemies, or you could forgo strong boundaries in favour of powerful defensive weapons like Ballistae or an Ongar. There is yet more choice to be had here, which I think is great, and it tests your forward thinking with how to get the most out of your resources. I never seem to have enough materials though for all my brilliant plans. After that list of things, you're ready to begin the combat phase. The combat begins with you positioning your heroes so they can engage the hordes as rightly as possible. There are flags and an arrow from each side that will be spawning enemies, with the level of skulls denoting how strong each wave will be. The combat proper will then commence and the Wandering Evilry will then move towards you from the mist. They will attack anything that comes in range, be it ruins, buildings or heroes. Once the baddies have moved, you'll be able to move and attack with each of your heroes. A hero has a number of move points, denoting how far they can move, with action points to use for skills. Each character can move up to their maximum and use their action points to attack the enemy and use other special abilities. All you must do is destroy the advancing hordes coming at you from each side. Usually combat will end once all the mobs are dead, but when a boss spawns it will end when they die instead. One good thing is that you will know which side the enemies will be coming from and how strong they will be. The baddies will always spawn from the purple mist that can creep very close to the base. There is a building though, the Seer, that can make use of workers to push this back, allowing some more time and space to deal with the enemy. The choices you made with regards to gold and material use and placement of defences will matter a lot. If your heroes manage to stay alive and the baddies do not kill the mages performing the last spell at the centre of your base, then you'll head into another production phase with whatever buildings and heroes are left standing, the cycle repeating again. The game loop, the overall gameplay of the last spell, I find very engaging and very addictive. I always seem to want to go for just one more round and then end up doing a lot more besides. This, dear viewers, is a sign of a well-made game that can hold one's interest rather well. All the different facets of gameplay, all the different systems and such are well explained, with the game prompting you if it sees you've forgotten to place some workers or build any defences, which is nice. The tactical gameplay on show here is deceptively deep. You might think it is relatively simple, just building and then defending, but there are a lot of decisions to be made and numerous ways in which you can approach the defence of your town. You will need to think before committing to certain decisions based on what might be coming at a certain side of your base and your experience from previous runs. You can easily build the wrong things, finding out later you would have done better if you'd built something else instead. One thing I would say is that this game is hard. Getting all the way to a boss on any particular town, for me at least, is very challenging. I failed an awful lot, having to restart towns many times. The things you have unlocked with essence and through achievements persist through runs at least, so you'll slowly become more powerful, allowing you to finally overcome the odds. Hopefully. Even then it is difficult. I wonder perhaps if it was tuned a little too high, having you spend time grinding out bonuses, or perhaps I'm just bad. It's probably that. It feels like you have to put in quite a lot of hours to grind out permanent rewards in order for you to progress through the campaign, which can be a slog and might put people off. I have to say though, it hasn't felt too bad, as I've been enjoying the challenge with the hours racking up quite quickly. But if you're looking for a game to finish in 10 to 20 hours or so, then this is probably not the game for that. If you like challenging games and games with a lot of thinking to be done about how you approach them, then I think there is a lot of fun to be had here. The depth and intricacies of base buildings and hero use is deceptively deep, and I feel I was constantly learning different ways to approach things. If you don't wish to grind out unlocks or want to face a steep difficulty curve, then I think perhaps it might be best to pass on the last spell. Either way, it is a good game and will test your wits and maybe some patience. It is available on Steam and for a decent price, and I would recommend it for sure for people who are into this type of game. And there we are, dear viewers. Another video from me here down in the Ancient Hold. This one is also a longer one than usual. I hope it wasn't too bad. Those extra few minutes allow me to pack in a little bit more information and how I feel about the game, so I hope you dig it. I also hope this finds you well wherever you may be. Thanks for watching, and I shall see you next time.